Buy a home right now is facing a double challenge amid the Federal Reserve's efforts to slow inflation.
According to a new report, the impact of rising interest rates on new mortgages has put home ownership beyond the reach for many. The average 30-year fixed mortgage is now higher than 7%, which means that for somebody who has a non-fixed mortgage or a new mortgage, that's going to add hundreds of dollars to monthly payments. Homeowners who may have locked in lower interest rates in the past are now, as a result, hesitant to sell. That means less inventory, which also means higher home prices.
But what's significant about this data that just came out is it's showing that if you get a house today, factoring in your mortgage payment and your property taxes, you got to get homeowners insurance, you'll end up paying somewhere around 35% of your annual income to afford a house. So that's way, way higher than what normal standards would consider affordable.
So here's the thing, guys. What was it? 2 years ago, we were talking about this and affordability. The average home buyer at that time was putting 18% of their income towards their payment at the time because rates were so low and costs were low. This is where they talk about how interest rates going up are actually going to create inflation again because they went up so fast that people now can't afford to buy, right? So what ends up happening is they sit there and I have to ask for a raise at work. I can't even afford my house. I have blah, blah, blah. Now people start asking for more money again, and all of a sudden there's no orders coming in, and you're creating a complete crap show. It's going to get to the point of where it's going to get ugly on some situations. In price ranges, here's the thing. I always rest on this. 28% of the market was cash in the last month. That interest rate that they quoted at 7.19 is inaccurate. It's actually 7.62 right now. And they're afraid it's going to go over 8% by the end of the month. That's where we're really at. And as that keeps going up, it just keeps taking people's affordability away. So people list their houses. There's just not as many people because those people kind of went down the rankings. Now they can afford this level of house instead of this level of house. So unless you're cash.
But what's happening, it's hurting a lot of people, but the actual real estate market's not getting destroyed because there's not a lot of inventory. So what's happened is that all that stuff has just come down. And what happened before is, we didn't have much inventory before. And people start like, hey, you know what? Let's sell it. And there was a bunch of people gobbling up. It just kept moving. But now it's kind of just like, you got to be patient. And that's the hard thing for people right now because it's all they hear. We had 5 showings in 1 week on a listing. People are like, oh my God, that's horrible. And I'm like, no, that's not. It's not bad at all, especially with price range. You see people doing a lot more open houses, trying to get people through. We had one last week that had 13 people through. We had another one that had 1 person through. Kind of a hit and miss, and it's just going to take a little longer. You got to just make sure that you're positioned correctly. You're adapting to what else is coming onto the market. You're watching what's coming on the market. You're giving the buyer the information that they need to make a decision with, and it's going to happen. It will happen.
I think there's always an optimistic spin on everything. It's easy to dwell on the negative. That's where our mind really wants to go, is into that, everything's horrible, it sucks, it's whatever. On the other hand, you look at the quality of the new houses being built. You look at the energy efficiencies of these houses. You look at when you pay a little bit more to buy like a new house, for an example. A lot of these builders are buying down the interest rates, which means you probably paid a little bit more to get the house, but nobody wants to talk about that. But you're getting that house that doesn't require a lot of maintenance for the next 10 years. So, I think that's why you're also seeing a trend towards a lot of people are buying the new built houses when they're taking that leap. They're saying, you know what, let's just go for it. Let's get the new house and own a new house, bucket list checked. The market's moving all over the place right now. And I think that as you're entering the market as a seller or a buyer, just be aware of that. I always say you want to employ somebody, your real estate agent or whatever, that understands what's happening in the marketplace and doesn't act like they're a victim of it too. You need to have strategies. You need to be intentional, and you need to react to what's happening around you to be successful. And I think you can navigate this market really easy. You just got to really pay attention.
How you use those stats. It says 99% of Americans, can't afford it. Well, there's a lot of Americans that are in loans that stretch that percentage. And that's what people are doing. They are stretching that percentage. So that 35%, is really, you can get better than that. That's what I'm saying. And that's what people are doing. They're stretching it.
But here's how I would respond to that. I'd say, actually, instead of quoting what could be the situation, why don't you quote what actually is the situation? The average person pulling a mortgage right now, how much are they averaging when they put money down? How much is being put down? What percentage of their income to their loan is the average right now with people buying the houses? And it's still lower than that. It's extremely lower than that. it's not at 35%. I mean, in some situations it probably is, but for most, it's not. Most people have